Hey y'all, we are back with another dense update. This update is sponsored by California Peptides and
Athletics too, baby. Herd athletics.
Oh, shit.
Come on now.
here we go. I went to the World Fitness Project Tour Event 1 in Indianapolis this weekend. Our wonderful and generous sponsor, Sarah Cox with California Peptides, hooked us all up with some VIP tickets. I also had a media pass, but I didn't really use it. I didn't go behind the scenes very much. I peeked behind the curtain a little bit, but I wanted to stay out of the way. I didn't want to get into anyone's head per se, or at least that's what I'm told my presence would do. I'm critical of a lot of people, but if you meet me face to face, I'm capable of having a grown-up conversation. So to suggest that just the mere presence of me around certain people is so traumatizing that they may not perform well on the competition floor is just absolutely ridiculous. I got a lot to talk about. I'm just really going to go through my entire experience, give you my likes and my dislikes. I ended up being in the hotel that the athletes were staying at. So that was a little bit interesting, but the hotel was only 4 minutes away from the venue. So really nice for the athletes because they could go back and forth in between events. They could go nap, they could go eat. They didn't have to stay and hang around the venue, which most of them didn't do anyway. I would see a lot of them back at the hotel in between events because there was anywhere from 2.5 to 3 hours between the two events each day. And the venue itself, a lot of likes there. They had a really big food court, good food options. You could sit down in this food court and eat in between events. Spectator friendly, it's just the right size. One dislike I will say is the competitors floor was tucked back in a corner.
Nobody puts baby in a corner.
You almost didn't even know that there was a community competition going on. It was very easily out of sight, out of mind. At least at Wodipalooza, the community athletes there competing get to compete on the main stage. They truly get the full experience. You sold an experience and then put them back in the corner. It was hidden behind Vendor Village. When you walk towards the Spectator entrance, you have to go through Vendor Village. And
Wodipalooza has 4,000 competitors, all of which are always packing the stands. When it was in Bayfront, there was nowhere to sit. Vendor Village was slammed, and those two things were definitely not the case at this first World Fitness Project event.
It was underwhelming. There was a couple of vendors there. Not a lot of people hanging out. They had put some couches in the middle to try to make it look cozy and inviting, which I thought was a nice touch. Something similar to that you would see at the games. WFP had a very underwhelming merchandise booth. It was just 2 racks standing in the middle of a blank background. It was kind of odd, actually. I liked the broadcast stage with Annie, Katrin, Derek, and Seth Page. Really well done. Great location. You have to walk through Vendor Village, like I said. It's directly ahead, so you can't miss it. Really didn't see a lot of people hanging around there, especially when they were on stage. I was there a couple of times. A big like about the venue is everything is close together. Everything is easy to navigate. Lines weren't very long for anything. I mean, obviously, there weren't a lot of people there. Friday and Sunday, I would say, were the lowest attendance days. Anywhere from 450 to, let's be generous and say there was 600 people. And then Saturday was a lot more, significantly noticeably more. You could hear more people in the crowd. The cheers were louder. So I would say 1,000 to, generously again, 1,200, but still right around what they had expected for this first event. You did have to repay to park if you left, but there was a free parking lot apparently. That was on the back side of one of the baseball fields over there, but it was an easy walk. It was a great location choice. It was just the right size. And now let's talk about the main competition floor. I liked it. All of the stands were built up off the ground. You had to go upstairs to get up to them. So it was basically every seat in the stands was a good seat. In fact, I would argue that the VIP seats that we had low on the floor, it actually was more difficult to see at times there because if you sat on one side, let's say closest to the rig, the VIP section was on lane 10. It would make it really difficult to see the finish line. There were these like barricades in between each section of the VIP seats, and they were just too high. So you couldn't see over those. I'm a spectator always and a fan, so I'm there to see the show. I want the best view of the show. I want the best viewing experience possible. So for me, a seat on the floor that's obstructed at times and some free Red Bull for $535 a ticket. The juice ain't worth the squeeze, but I'm very grateful to our sponsor for having gotten us those tickets. There is a cool feature with being VIP. You have your own menu, food menu to order from, and they bring it right to your seat. So that's kind of nice. And then, of course, they have a bar with drinks. And I did not partake. I wanted to be on my game in case anybody wanted to come talk to me, if you know what I mean. Hiller said this in his video. It was a mix of regionals versus Rogue.
It reminds me of regionals, something between regionals and Rogue, both of which things that I have been to both as a competitor and as a spectator.
It gave Rogue vibes, but like a Temu Rogue. I've actually seen this comment a couple of times, and I said, oh, yeah, that's kind of it. I mean, they definitely spent the money.
And it's definitely upwards of $1 million when you take into account the things that I don't know.
Andrew Hiller, Ball So Hard University.
There's somebody who went to the freaking thing. And
Yes, he snuck into the event. It was actually pretty funny that he went unseen. Nobody noticed that he was there. He was in all black. He had some glasses on, shaved his face. We walked into VIP. There were athletes standing all around us. Patrick Clark was even standing right next to me during Colton's final event, and we were talking about Colton. PC's on my right, Hiller's on my left. He did not even recognize him. I thought for sure someone was going to say, holy shit, Andrew Hiller's here. I mean, Fikowski, O'Keefe, Brooke Wells, and Sydney were sitting in front of us. Jorge Fernandez was sitting in front of us. I did see him look back a couple of times and be like, he might have recognized Andrew. Let's talk about the lighting, because that is probably one of the biggest topics of the entire weekend. Everyone's got an opinion about the lighting. So from the live stream, which I did watch a lot of the live stream on my drive home, there were some times that I thought my phone light had dimmed, and I had to open it up and look, and I was like, oh no, like that's just how dark it is on my screen because of the lighting in the arena. When you go to an NFL game, an NBA game, a Major League Baseball game, a hockey game, anything that's indoor, it's lit to the gills. A WWE match or Cirque du Soleil or a live taping of the Gladiators, you get all that lighting and theatrics.
There's no, like you said, there's no other serious sport that does it. This whole thing was just a circus show. They need to get more serious. I saw somewhere that the Buttery Bros said it was the best lighting that they've ever seen. They don't make serious content either. They make clown content too. They're clowns too. They don't make, you know what I mean? Like every one of their shows relies on gimmicks. They get half the views that Hiller gets with 10x the amount of time put in on editing.
That was probably more distracting for the athletes than anything. And I know they're all saying,
Dude, it's dope. I think like they got the lighting right out on the stage, how it like feels like it's only on you and the crowd is kind of dark.
I'm there to watch the athletes compete. I want to be able to see everything that's going on.
The lighting is amazing. The crowd is following us, is doing the workout with us.
And it did make it that much harder to see what was going on. Somebody said James Sprag dropped a barbell on his head.
6'8". Thumbs up, he's good.
Didn't see that because it was in the dark. Danny Spiegel unracked a barbell. They shut the lights off on her. So then she just was, nah, never mind.
127 for Annika. Oh, Laura successful. Annika not. Oh no, the 300 goes down.
On paper, the idea of the spotlights for the lifting event were cool, but in execution, not so much, because none of the challengers didn't get the spotlight lighting. The challengers were completely lit, and to me, that was better. I could see everything that was going on. I could clearly see the girl down in lane 1 and lane 2 doing their lift. When I was sitting there for the pros, Roman was right in front of me. He hit his 405, went back to drop the bar to celebrate, and then he was out of the light. So even the video of him and his lift and his celebration, it's not clear. It's not the same. The other thing I didn't like about the lighting is they would darken the lighting right before athletes would line up for 3, 2, 1, go. There was also not a 3, 2, 1, go. When they're getting lined up, that is like one of the more intense moments. You see them go from getting their names announced, smiling and waving at the crowd, to checking out their lane, making sure they have chalk, getting their placement, going to the starting mat. And then it's like you see this switch and they got their game face on and they're like, yeah, let's go. And you don't get to see any of that because they're sitting in the pitch black. I can think of so many instances. Sarah Sigmund's daughter, there's some great examples of that. They'd come out and smile and wave to the crowd, and then all of a sudden it would just be like, and you'd be like, oh, dude, these girls are ready. They came to play. The other thing about the spotlights, so I talked to Maggie Ludwig. She kind of explained to me, said, yeah, we added the yellow tape line. They were really happy about that. For safety purposes. And I was like, oh, that's interesting. They got some feedback from some athletes who suggested that. They had to unrack the bar, walk back behind the yellow tape line before they could jerk. And then when they completed the movement, if their foot went over the tape line and they had it overhead, they still had to walk it back to the tape line. The reason being, when you drop that barbell, you could hit the rails of the rack, and that could become a safety issue.
Idiot.
The music, the DJ they hired, stellar. 10 out of 10. Great music all weekend. I was jamming. Sarah with CA Peptides even said, oh, she's singing again. Like, I knew every song. But I really don't have any complaints about the events themselves. Are they an overall well-programmed, well-balanced test? It's not really my expertise, not really my department. But again, we're looking at new programming that they've never done before. They're accustomed to Dave Castro programming, not Will Morad programming for athletes by athletes. You know, I wonder if Adler and Horvath are kind of missing Castro's programming right about now. As far as the programming goes, there wasn't a lot of high volume workouts, and because they want to be easier on the bodies, they don't want to beat up the athletes. But I think we all kind of knew there were going to be some athletes that were just going to underperform. You know, Pat Vellner's on the verge of retirement. Bethany Flores has been fighting injury for a while. Travis Mayer and Emily Rolfe had to withdraw. I mean, there are a lot of athletes who have already gotten their free pro card from the year who were wildly unimpressive. Another thing, you guys want to call yourselves professional athletes?
I don't think it's a good look at all for Laura Horvath to be dumping the dumbbells during her last walking lunge as somebody who is making her first competition from the 2023 CrossFit Games, essentially. If you ask me, that's embarrassing.
John Young, dude, if you didn't see the barbell spin last week, the new mountain, I mean, he pretty much nailed it on the head. Hatfield at the top, then Adler and Sprag, and then Pepper, Hopper, and Mertens. He didn't have Alex Gazan up top, but he did have Campbell, Brandon, and Lowen. And Danielle Brandon finishing in second place. And I know what y'all think. Y'all think I got some beef with her, but I really don't. And this weekend, she looked very focused. She looked very in control. She was running her own race. She wasn't so concerned with things around her. She didn't throw any fits on the competition floor. I heard her. Fee went to try to give everybody high five after one of the events, and she kind of went down the line of athletes, and Danielle Brandon was sitting there and just shook her head at her, and Sophie slapped her own hand. But nonetheless, she kept it together, looked very composed, finished in second, did really well. But the biggest surprise on the female side all weekend was Laura Horvath. Started off day one with a 14th and then a 20th. We all knew she'd do really well in the rope climb yoke event, which she won. Second to last on that final event. Besides Wodapalooza, I can't remember a time that somebody baited Horvath into a race. When she was the champ, that wasn't happening. I mean, according to her Instagram page, she's completely got it together and she's got her mind right, and she's always posting these inspirational quotes and things like that. But you didn't see that portrayed on the competition floor this weekend. Not a lot of confidence. I'm also really surprised at how well the athletes who just did individual and affiliate semifinals did here. Let's talk about the live stream really quick. So a lot of feedback on the live stream. People complaining about it not being on YouTube, not being a live chat, not being able to watch on their televisions. If their smart televisions didn't have a web browser. We all know it's a big miss not being on YouTube, but you can't rewind. If you walk away from an event, you're going to miss things. It wasn't until far later at the end of the day before those live feeds were available for replay, and we all know that media creators and content creators are pumping out things really fast on Instagram. So if you open up Instagram, it's a complete spoiler alert. But the graphics were nice. They added the athlete introductions.
25.
Chris Hybara, Kansas City, United States.
Tanner Balaz,
Indiana, United States.
Jamarison Lamar, University of Middle Tennessee.
I get what they're trying to do. Sometimes less is more. The smoke and the light, it was a lot of theatrics. If I hear all these big name athletes are coming to a town near me, yeah, I'm gonna pay the money to go watch. Am I gonna pay thousands of dollars to book a plane ticket, rent a car, book a hotel, buy the tickets for the weekend, buy merch while I'm there, all the food, gas, etc., to go to one of these events? Probably not. We don't really know what it is that they're trying to accomplish.
What does it mean to be the world's fittest projector or the best world fitness projector? So
Like when you win the Masters, you win the Masters. It is the most prestigious golf event. When you win the World Fitness Project Finals, what does that even mean?
So after the 4 events that they've now beat themselves down for an entire year, what title do you get? Do they care about the title that they get? Does anybody care about the title that they get? Because I can tell you as somebody who's been in CrossFit for a long time that I know that everybody thinks it's stupid cool to know who the fittest on earth was.
They're not claiming that they're finding the fittest on earth.
But then what is it trying to be?
You're just finding the best exerciser that year. The sport grew organically out of the community, and it was the best athletes in the best gyms around the world. And that's how the games began. Now we've come to a place where these athletes have been doing this so long that now they expect to be deemed professionals. They expect a level of treatment. They expect Letterman jackets and shower caddies and a locker room and VIP service. I just feel like they're trying way too hard to force something that has to happen organically on its own. You cannot continue to shove down our throats that you're a professional athlete if we don't already believe that. We, the fans. And when I see the Buttery Bros and Brian Friend Fitness asking these cookie cutter questions to have to answer and say things that make them sound ridiculous, it honestly kind of upsets me for them. They are not filling up stadiums. The only time that they've been able to fill up a stadium with over 10,000 people is at the most prestigious CrossFit competition in the world, being the CrossFit Games. After being there and after seeing the production, I don't think they can compete with CrossFit. There's this big push to make this thing the next big thing because the people on the aisle that want this to be successful, they need this to be successful. They've drawn their line in the sand. They've laid all their cards on the table. They've walked away from CrossFit. They've badmouthed CrossFit. They've talked shit about Dave Castro. They act like they're so poorly treated by everybody in the ecosystem. So they need this to be the next big thing if they want to still be a part of the sport and the community, and if they want to stay relevant. So I understand why they're doing it. I just don't see right now how this is ever going to come even remotely close to the prestige as the games or even Rogue Invitational, to be honest with you. You can't replicate what Bill and Katie can do. And let's talk about the sponsors. So there are 2 major sponsors, Adidas and Red Bull. What I'm hearing is there was no money exchanged from Adidas. Adidas gave some shoes, and that was it. Did not pay for their sponsorship. And then as far as the Red Bull, I have heard rumors that the Red Bull endorsement is basically the sloppy seconds of the CrossFit Games, that Red Bull approached CrossFit and they just couldn't come to a deal there. And so they wanted to be in the sport, so they went with the Temu version. Had a lot of people messaging me over the weekend asking if everybody had been nice to me or if anybody had said anything to me. And honestly, the first person to approach me was Patrick Clark. He was very nice, very welcoming, asked me several times how I was doing, if I needed anything, introduced me to a few people. There are people out there who have been vocal or posted word salad posts, Mr. Torres, about people hiding behind mics and keyboards and not holding themselves accountable. I walked into the Lion's Den, gave you and everyone on the side that I've been critical of an opportunity to hold me accountable for what I've said, and not one person did that besides PC. I did the most uncomfortable thing that I could do, like Sevan said. Drove 14 hours each way to come to an event to watch the athletes that I love to watch compete. I wasn't afraid to put myself out there. And I think if there's ever going to be a time where we are going to try to find a way to bring this community back together and stop to the division, then that's what you got to do. You got to suck it up and you got to talk to people that are critical of you, and you got to find out why. And whether you can come to some sort of agreement or not, to not be able to take any kind of criticism or any kind of feedback is doing exactly what you claimed CrossFit did all those years. That is all for this dance update. Be sure to leave a comment, like, and subscribe to the YouTube channel. And if you're into this sort of thing, head over to my Instagram page where you can follow me for all the latest happenings in the CrossFit community.
Bitch.
She got chalk on her hands, lip gloss on the mic, talking PRs and drama, yeah, her takes ain't light. Deadlifting truths in her crop top fit, in every box know her name, yeah, that dense bitch.
That dense bitch.
Big brain, not big bench, and when she walks in, whole squad gets tense. She say what she want, no filter, no flinch, dropping CrossFit T with a snatch and a twist. That dense bitch.
That dense bitch.
Yeah, she built like a barbell, pretty face, big chest, got some cartel. Hot takes with a side of protein, she the queen of the scene in her Metcon dream. That dense bitch.
That dense bitch.
Got a what and a war to start, talking smack in the chat like it's modern art. Brains, maybe not, but the biceps hit, and she always bring the fire when she tuck her. Did you hear what Jess did at the 6 a.m.? She got caught skipping reps, now she ghosting them. And Mike's on roids, girl, we been new. That dense bitch got the scoop like a pre-workout brew. No PhD, but she studied your form, correcting your squat while she rides the storm. Opinionated, caffeinated, unregulated, pretty and hated, she's celebrated. She ain't dumb, she deliberate. Big boobs, big takes, she ain't delicate. And when she talks, the room goes hush, cause even the coach be scared of her touch. That dense bitch.
That dense bitch.
Yeah, she built like a barbell, pretty face, big chest, got some cartel. Hot takes with a side of protein, she the queen of the scene in her Metcon dream. That dense bitch.
That dense bitch.
Got a wide and a war to start, talking smack in the chat like it's modern art. Brains, maybe not, but the biceps hit, and she always bring the fire when she talk her shit. Yeah, she loud, she proud, and she benching your man. Takes no notes, but she still got a plan. Call her dense, but she flex on cue. That bitch got the news, and she prettier than you.